They poked, they prodded, they laughed behind crooked smiles and whispered venom through porcelain teeth. They treated you like a problem, like an eyesore that needed fixing, like something defective that had to be reshaped, diluted, silenced. And now they act surprised? Now they want to act afraid of the very storm they summoned? Let them. They wanted a monster. Let them have what they asked for. Because for too long you played it soft. You turned the other cheek, swallowed your rage, smiled through betrayal, kept quiet while the world walked all over you, like you were the doormat at the gates of their comfort zone. But not anymore. Not after everything. You tried to be kind. You tried to forgive. You gave second chances, third chances, infinite hall passes to people who would have set you on fire just to warm their hands. And every time you showed mercy, they mistook it for weakness. Every time you showed love, they twisted it into a weapon. Every time you gave them your light, they spit darkness back in your face. But you see, there's a funny thing about pain. It doesn't die, it transforms, it mutates. It simmers just beneath the skin, building, stretching, sharpening its claws until one day, it breaks free. One day, you stop apologizing for how much you've changed. One day, you let the monster out of its cage. They created this. They hammered the steel and sewed the scars. They wrote the script and painted you the villain. And now that you're finally stepping into the role they assigned you, they tremble, they cower, they look at you like you're the problem. But don't you dare flinch. Don't you dare feel shame for the beast they awakened. The time for explanations is over. You don't owe them softness. You don't owe them silence. Let them taste the consequence of crafting a creature from cruelty. You're not the villain of this story. You're the recoil. You're the poetic justice. You're the one who finally stopped bleeding for people who never brought a bandage. You didn't become cold. You adapted. You didn't lose your empathy. You just learned who deserved it. You didn't snap. You evolved. This world, this ungrateful, smiling, backstabbing circus of hypocrisy. It doesn't respect kindness until it comes with fangs. It doesn't hear your pain unless you scream. It doesn't value your peace until you burn the bridges you used to carry others across. So go ahead, burn them. Burn every lie, every betrayal, every fake smile. Leave behind ashes and echoes. Let them miss the version of you that loved too loudly. Let them ache for the warmth they took for granted. Let them scream when they see the silence you now walk with. Let them cry when they realize the price of building a monster with their own hands. Because now you don't react. Now you don't explain. Now you don't beg for understanding. You don't chase closure. You become the closure. You become the reminder that not every soul stays soft. Not every heart forgives. Not every wound stays invisible. Some of us grow teeth. Some of us become the very nightmare they tried to break us with. And oh, what a beautiful nightmare you've become. No more pretending. No more trying to fit into the small little box they built for you. That fragile, neat label that says, easy to control. Number your chaos now. You're wildfire in a world of gasoline hearts. You're the echo of every no they ignored. You're the rage of every night you cried into the dark, begging for peace that never came. They wanted the beast. They mocked the calm version of you. Then let them choke on the version that doesn't care anymore. Let them see what happens when someone stops holding back. You've learned. You've adapted. You've seen the fake love, the disguised jealousy, the smiles with knives behind them. You've heard the gossip, the rumors, the betrayal wrapped in friendship. And you didn't crumble. No, you calculated. You listened. And now they get silence where there used to be loyalty, distance where there used to be devotion, precision where there used to be passion. They don't deserve your fire anymore, just the smoke that lingers when you've moved on. Let them whisper, let them point fingers, let them tell stories about how you changed, because you did, and you should have. Growth is not always gentle. Healing is not always beautiful. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes it looks like solitude, cold eyes, and doors slammed shut with no warning. Sometimes healing is done with a scalpel, cutting out every fake friend, every parasite, every leech that used your kindness as a feeding ground. And if that makes you a monster, so be it. Wear the title like war paint, because they never cared about your softness. They just used it. They never respected your patience. They just tested it. And now that you're no longer handing out free passes to the same people who drained you, now that you finally stand with your back straight and your soul stitched in barbed wire, now they call you heartless. Good. Be heartless to those who never valued your heart. Be cold to those who used your warmth like a drug, addicted to your comfort, only to disappear when it was your turn to need them. Be the villain in their version of the story, because in yours, you're the one who survived hell and came back crowned in shadows, untouchable. They don't get to tell your story anymore. You do. You're no longer the broken one. You're no longer the silent one. You're no longer the one who waits, who hopes, who bleeds for people who'd watch you drown. You are vengeance in human form. You are the unanswered text, the unreturned call, the closed door, the final chapter. You are what happens when the storm learns to walk on two legs. They tried to bury you. They forgot you were a seed. Now you rise, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a force of nature. The kind they can't predict, the kind they can't control, the kind they'll regret ever underestimating. So laugh. Laugh like the devil in a room full of saints, because they thought you were weak, until they realized the quiet ones are the ones who burn the loudest when pushed too far. This isn't revenge. This is revelation. This is the unveiling of who you truly are when you stop diluting your rage to make others comfortable. This is what it looks like when the softest heart grows armor so thick, no sword of betrayal can pierce it again. So let the whispers grow, let the fear spread. They asked for a monster, then give them something they'll never forget. Because the most dangerous people are the ones who were never supposed to be dangerous at all. The ones who begged for peace, but were taught war. The ones who loved deeply, but were betrayed violently. The ones who didn't start the fire, but learned how to walk through it. And now they'll learn what you've become. Not a monster, an evolution. And there's no going back. They never cared about your peace, only how your peace served their chaos. They never cared about your love, only how your love filled the void inside their hollow hearts. You were the flame they warmed themselves with, until they realized fire burns when it's no longer controlled. And now that you're no longer docile, now that the leash they once wrapped around your soul has snapped, they're afraid. Let them be. Let them tremble at the silence you now carry. Let them panic when you don't respond, don't explain, don't shrink to make them comfortable anymore. That silence, it's not passive, it's your final form. It's the sound of someone who no longer begs to be understood. It's the war cry of someone who finally chose themselves. You begged for peace once, you cried for closure. You hoped someone, anyone, would notice the war you were fighting behind your eyes. But they didn't. They ignored the tears, mocked your pain, and stepped over the broken pieces of you like scattered glass they helped shatter. But that pain, that neglect, it didn't destroy you. It refined you. It calcified your spine. It sharpened your instincts. It stripped you down to something raw, something real, something dangerous. And now they don't get the luxury of the old you. That version was a gift. That version was the bridge, the safe space, the harbor. Now you're the ocean, deep, unpredictable, unforgiving. They will drown trying to find the version of you they took for granted. You've stopped shrinking yourself to fit into the narrow roles they wrote for you. The role of the helper, the fixer, the forgiver, the fool. No more. Let someone else play those parts. You're rewriting the whole damn script. You're not here to soothe egos or stitch wounds you didn't create. You're not here to prove your worth to people who saw you as disposable. You're here to show them what happens when someone survives betrayal and decides to never bleed again. They say you've changed. No, you finally arrived. This untouchable, unshakable version of you. This is who you always were, beneath the conditioning, beneath the masks, beneath the lies they fed you about staying humble, staying quiet, staying small. And now that you're awake, now that you've accepted your shadow, instead of hiding it, there's no going back. You are whole now, and wholeness includes the monster they tried to erase. They'll call you cold. Let them. They'll call you cruel. Let them. They'll say you're heartless, toxic, arrogant. Let them scream it until their lungs collapse. Because those words, they mean you're no longer giving them what they want. You're no longer their puppet. You're no longer the silent pillow they scream into. You're no longer their emotional crutch, their fallback plan, their controlled opposition. You're free. And freedom, real freedom, terrifies those who've spent their lives mastering control over others. You know who you are now. That's the danger. You've met the parts of yourself they prayed you'd never discover. The resilience, the detachment, the refusal to play nice. And the more you lean into that power, the more they'll try to guilt you back into the cage. They'll say you're not being yourself. What they really mean is, you're not being who they want you to be anymore. Good. You're not here to be anyone's savior. You're not here to fix the broken. You're not here to bleed for the ungrateful. You're here to build your empire, brick by brutal brick. And if your silence echoes louder than your screams ever did, so be it. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to defend your evolution to people who benefited from your suppression. They made you feel guilty for growing, for walking away, for not looking back. But what they fail to realize is this: monsters don't need validation. Monsters don't need applause. Monsters don't ask permission to exist. They survive, they adapt, they move in silence and strike with precision. Now that you've stepped into that skin, now that you wear your scars like armor and not shame, you're unreachable. You were forged in isolation, sharpened by betrayal, baptized by pain. What can they do to you now? Gossip? Lie? Disown you? You've already buried the old version of yourself. You're not afraid to dig another grave. They wanted chaos? Then let them taste the storm. Let them see what happens when the empath stops feeling. Let them feel what it's like when the caretaker stops caring. Let them wake up every morning with the ghost of you haunting them. Not because you're still chasing them, but because they finally realized they lost something real. You didn't lose them. They lost you. They lost the light, the laughter, the love, the effort, the forgiveness. And they'll search for it in other people. Try to recreate the high they got from your loyalty. And they'll fail, because they'll never find another you. That was their gamble. They bet on your silence, your submission, your softness. They thought you'd always come back, that you'd always be the one to fix things. But now you don't fix, you disappear. And in that silence, they rot. Let them rot. Let them drown in the absence of the very soul they tried to destroy. Let your nonchalance become their punishment. Let your evolution become their mirror, one they can't bear to look into. They'll call you fake. Let them. They'll say you're evil. Smile, because people always hate what they can no longer manipulate. You are not obligated to make anyone comfortable with your strength. You are not here to babysit broken egos. You are not here to be likable, palatable, digestible. You're here to become everything they said you shouldn't, to become everything they feared you would, to become so unapologetically powerful that their lies collapse under the weight of your truth. And the truth is this: they asked for a monster, gave them a legend. You gave them something timeless, something dangerous, something unforgettable. You're no longer here to be invited to the table. You're here to flip the table, burn the blueprint, and build your own kingdom from the ashes. Let them knock, let them beg, let them repent. But don't you dare open that door again. Some people were born to betray. Some of us were born to rise because of it. You are the aftermath, the scar that never fades, the consequence they never saw coming. You're what happens when a soul finally stops apologizing for the fire inside. They couldn't handle your light, so they tried to put it out. Now let them choke on your darkness. No more mercy, no more softness, no more invitations to conversations that should have ended with silence. Let your detachment be final. Let your evolution be permanent. Let them sit in the ruins of the bridges they burned, wondering how someone they once controlled became someone they can't even reach. Because monsters don't beg, they don't chase, they don't look back, they rise, and they rule.